Today's going to be a little different. It's not massively different, but I mean, last week was probably more different than this week. This week is borderline status quo, actually, now I come to think of it. So ignore the message where I said today's going to be different. We've got a whiskey. That's fun, isn't it? We're going to be doing a blend today because I don't know. It's this whiskey's turn. This is the one that I want to talk about next. So this is oh god, I got in this glass some of the Dewars. It'd be weird actually if there'd been a shot of a bottle and then this was something completely different. That'd be quite a funny screw up actually. If just like, might do that for an April Fool's next year. I was going to do an April Fool's this year and then I didn't. You probably noticed. Yeah, so blended whiskey. Gets a bad old name for itself these days, doesn't it? It's not. It has its advocates. It certainly has its detractors. It is not the rosy old days of well, the 90s and stuff, where it was the dominating force, for better or for worse. To be fair, a lot of the blends that were on the market back then weren't particularly good. They're probably better than they. In fact, I've tried a couple of 90s blends, and you know what? They're actually pretty nice. I don't know if the fact they've been locked in a bottle for, I don't want to say 30 years, but it is 30 years now, isn't it? Ugh. I asked somebody at work not so long ago if they thought that I was Delia Smith, and they said, "Who's that?" And I swear to God, I nearly crumbled to dust in front of them right there and then. So, that's fun. I'm one of the younger ones on Whiskey Tube as well. Though not the youngest, it has to be said. Those whippersnappers are coming up fast. I should tell you the tale at some point about the Aberdeen University Whisky Society. But I don't have any tales for it because I didn't go. I'd got into whiskey significantly later. Looking back, that was a wasted opportunity, but I was too young and stupid. Anyway, nostalgia out the window. Dewars 18. Why do I have this bottle? It's actually gifted to me by the folks at Dewars. Now, I should quickly say, when I say it was gifted, it wasn't. They stuck it in the mail and said, "Oi, would you do us a solid and give us a good review of this?" That's not what's happened here. So this is not like a paid promotion or anything like that. It was more of a sort of a deal sweetener, really. They didn't need to do it because the deal was already kind of done, to be fair. But it was for work. I was helping run a whiskey bar at the time, famous Edinburgh whiskey bar that is not currently open. So anyone who's been asking where I work, that's probably given the game away. Unless one of the other ones shuts down in the next week. That would be actually genuinely unfortunate, so don't do that. Other whiskey bars, don't do that. We like you. But we were across the road from the Johnny Walker vanity project, that I keep calling it. We'll quickly say, actually, all the people that work at the Johnny Walker are genuinely lovely. They love what they do. They're mostly like, you know, performance based people, and they're honestly just salt of the earth folks. We had them over quite a bit, so I actually have quite a good relationship with them. I was expecting it to be a bit, you know, but actually everyone was just like, "Yeah, you're in hospo, I'm in hospo. We're all having a bit of a shit time at the minute because there's no staff and all the rest of it, and yeah, let's just be friends." So we are. But because they have their fingers in all of the pies in Edinburgh at the moment, seriously, you can't walk anywhere without seeing Johnny Walker banners or the Striding Man up on a bar. One of the most egregious examples of that, and I think this is tasteless. So, Johnny Walker folks, if you're watching this and you're like, "Oh, that's outrageous," you're a massive multi-billion pound brand that's globally known, and I'm a chuckle fuck in an ill-fitting hoodie talking on the internet. Do you care? Bluntly. But there's a Vanguard. I swear I'll be getting to this whiskey at some point, but it's fine, don't worry about it. Fuck it, it's my channel, I'll do whatever I want. I won't do whatever I want, I'll do what people want. Anyway, there is a Van Gogh, however you want to pronounce his name. There probably is a correct pronunciation in there somewhere. Comment down below if you know it. I'm getting better at this. There's an exhibit celebrating his life, and it's like bringing his paintings to life and all that kind of stuff. It's like a interactive digital display sort of yurt outside Brewdog. And I've seen some pictures of the inside, and the exhibits all look genuinely quite impressive, and I was going to go along. And then I saw an image of, just in the middle of all these like beautiful pieces of art that he made, was a fucking striding man. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, you tasteless fucks. I mean, do you know what? They could have done worse, but the fact they did it at all is just, lads, have some dignity. Yeah, so Johnny Walker aside, Dewars, why do I have this bottle? Oh god, oh, that's gone. That was a little mistake there, wasn't it? Finally, my bottle flipping days have come up to me. Now then, this is actually take 2 of this particular part of the video from Johnny Walker onwards, because I've been talking for about 10 minutes, and we have an issue where, Canon, if you're watching this, can you have like some kind of beep or flashing light or alert or some kind of indication as to when either the battery is about to die or the card is full? Because not all of us actually yeah, there's just flip out screens now, isn't there? Is there like a software add-on that I can, because there are like lights and stuff on this already, is there like a plug-in or something I can add to this? To any tech people out there? Okay, cool. Do you know what, for all that, it would probably just be easier just to get a little hand mirror, wouldn't it, so I can see the back screen. That's a really good idea, actually. Why the fuck haven't I done that in the last 6 years? Okay, anyway, so why do I have this bottle? Well, the conversation that I just very lovingly spoke about in a very winding and ranty way, hopefully this will be a bit shorter then, was... I have this bottle because it was given to me as a freebie, as a gift. Now then, that is not to say that this has been sent to me in the mail and they've gone, hey, here's a bottle of 18-year-old whiskey, say nice things about it and we'll send you flowers through the post or something. It's none of that. I was given this because it's actually working with Dewars in a work capacity. So the whiskey bar that I was working in up until 3 months ago, it's currently closed for refurb, so anyone that's been wondering where I work or have worked in the past now has a pretty good idea. For those of you still not sure, it's the one opposite Johnny Walker. So there you go, that fills in the blanks, I think. Actually, while we're on the subject of Johnny Walker, may as well talk about that. So Johnny Walker's everywhere in Edinburgh now since they opened up the Johnny Walker Vanity Project, as I like to call it. And it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing because, I mean, we've got like a tiny little basement whiskey bar and they've got 6 floors of all singing, all dancing, spangles and banners kind of a thing, you know. So it's jealousy, really, as much as anything else. But when it came time for us to develop an approachable whiskey drink, because it had gone a bit too wanky downstairs, without wanting to like go too much into it, it had gone a little bit too extreme snobbery for my take. But hey, I'm a working class northern lad, so you know I'm always going to have an eye for those kinds of things. Did that just cut out again? We decided to make a serves menu that was just nice, easy, approachable drinks. Something where if you walk downstairs and you went, I've never drank whiskey before, what can I have? It was dipping a toe in to kind of get you started. And as it happens, as we were looking at this, Dewars were doing it was a promo thing basically at the Voodoo Rooms to promote their cask matured, well, double cask, I think is what's the actual name of them? It's like a special cask series for their Dewars blends. It's the 8-year-olds. I think they're called 8-year-old Smooth. I should know this. I identified them mainly through the colours on the labels, if I'm completely honest. We've got the blue, we've got the green, we've got the red, and we've got that kind of grey one. And they are in order: the Caribbean rum, the mezcal, the Porto, which I liked quite a bit, and it's called Japanese Smooth, and it's a kind of Japanese oak that they use. And they did go into it, but I was too busy with the Porto one. Sorry, the port one, I should say. To be paying much attention to that one. I will say as well, actually, the cask matured blend, like I've heard all sorts of, they are not a fucking cask strength 21-year-old. Of course they're bloody not. But they do a job quite well, and they're meant to be mixing spirits, and in that job they do very nicely, but they do actually also work quite nicely as sipping spirits. If you're trying to introduce somebody to kind of like, okay, so this is what different casks do to the same liquid, because it's the same starting liquid. I sound like I'm on the payroll for them, don't I? But it was actually quite interesting, and it's something that we were doing once we got them on board. So anyway, why do I have this bottle? Yes, get back to that. So, the guys from Dewars chatted to me after the event, and they actually came down to the bar, and I basically told them what we were thinking of doing, and how I worded it was, how do you want to stick half a middle finger up to the guys opposite the road? We were tempted just to steal the Johnny Walker highballs, because a fair few people would come across and just be like, oh, can I have this highball they had across the road? And we have to be like, we're a completely different venue. You can't just like come into another place and just ask for something off of somebody else's menu. That's not how this works. You can't ask for a Big Mac in Burger King. It's not a thing. So yeah. So that's why I've got this bottle, because they brought it along as an extra little thing. To be fair, we're already sold on it. One more little thing, just before I get into the actual whiskey. There'll be chapter points, hopefully, so you can skip this if you want, but it's a bit of extra colour, because I don't often talk with as much detail as my work life and all. I just go, hey, it's busy, and blah. The guys at Dewars actually came down and helped us develop the drinks menu, which was a really nice touch, because normally what you get with... Like, say, for example, you approach a whiskey brand, you're like, hey, I want to get you guys in, can we do some kind of a deal? What they will do is, 9 times out of 10, they will make a tent card, and Johnny Walker have definitely done this, and they'll go, hey, either make an old-fashioned or stick fucking lemonade in it and call it a day. It is the most phoned-in crap ever. It takes like 2 seconds for an intern to put it on and then just ship it out. They spend more time changing the logos on these things than they do coming up with the recipes, which is understandable, but at the same time, if you're going to do 2 just chop and change ones, go with something like vaguely interesting. Even Aberfeldy do their gold fashions. I've been listening to podcasts recently where it's an old fashioned, but they put honey in instead of sugar. It's hardly groundbreaking, but it's just enough that you're like, oh, that's a little bit different, you know? Not asking for the world, it's just a little different. So what these guys actually did was actually came down and actually developed the drinks with us. We ended up going with 4, and they were quite simple drinks. I want to specify that. The whole brief of it was simple, but we wanted it to be interesting simple rather than just stick some lemonade in it. So we ended up making one with mango juice and ginger ale, which was something that they had a variant of at the event itself. They didn't have the exact spec, because I think they kind of made it up on the spot. So we kind of reverse engineered it and came up with something we were happy with. Our addition, did we add mint, or was that already a thing with it? We were really happy with adding mint anyway, I remember that much. There was another one which was batshit crazy, which had Fever Tree blood orange and espresso and a little sugar syrup and a little of aromatic bitters. I remember we kept testing bitters, and the Angostura did not work at all. The orange was too clashy. It clashed too much with the blood orange. And the aromatic actually worked quite nicely. We were divided 50-50 on this. I really liked what we ended up with, and the fella at Dewars, not such a fan. And then we got some other people to try them, and we found there was basically, it was a Marmite split. So people that didn't like it, and people that did like it, really liked it. So we kept it, because we were like, do you know what, that's weird enough that we need to forewarn people, it's not for everyone, but it's different. You know, it's not just going down the, oh yeah, it slips down nice and easy. It was actually quite an interesting highball. And then the other 2, one was a Mamie Taylor, which is just ginger ale and bitters, nice and simple. And the last one, we kept changing. I think it was a riff on like a lemonade one, but we're using San Pel and lemon bitters with it as well. So just, you know, mega citrus, basically. And they were the 4 drinks, and they did really well. Yeah, that probably wasn't very interesting, but yeah, just a little bit of my sort of the stuff that I do at work. You know, I get to work with brands sometimes and develop stuff. But the long and short of that was, I was really happy that they gave us the time with that, because they didn't have to. You know, they absolutely didn't have to. They could do what most other brands do, and they, you know, just say, yeah, just shove Coke in it, we don't give a shit, you need to buy in the bottles. So I genuinely appreciated that. So that's how I ended up with this bottle, and we're going to talk about it today. So, about a year later, we're actually talking about the whiskey. This is an 18-year-old blend. I was originally going to talk about what it says on the bottle, but I think if I stretch this out any longer, people are actually going to kill me. 40%, it says gold prize 500 medals on it, and it's a 20cl bottle because it's a little, you know, there you go. If there can be a full 70 centiliter, good God. And it talks about its smoothness, and at the heart of the blend is Aberfeldy, which I was actually going to guess anyway, because I haven't actually read the back of this before. So yeah, Aberfeldy, a lovely whiskey, as we previously mentioned actually with the gold fashioned. On the nose, it's honeyed pears, really. If anyone's ever done, like, oh god, what was that? If anyone's ever done poached pears, kind of like sweet, sticky, red wine pears, there's an element of that to it. It's got like a little bit of tannicness to it. Very sweet as a nose. And there is that lovely kind of apples and pears, classic Speyside component. Obviously, you know, these things are a nonsense by and large, but you know, if you want to pigeonhole, then classic Speyside. It's a fruity caramel kind of a sweet and fresh. That's what I'm getting on the nose. This now has had more than enough time to sit. Originally I was a little worried that, oh, I've just poured it before the video, and then with everything that's happened and the fact that I keep ranting, we're good to go, I reckon, so I'm going to have a sip of this. Now, spoilers, I've had a fair bit of this. The reason I haven't finished this off by now, because I've had this bottle for about 6 months, is I really like this. So spoilers, if you know, clicked on this video thinking it was going to be brief, I suppose you can go now because I like it. But we'll talk a bit more about, you know, what we actually get with it. It's just comforting. It's got... I don't quite know where to start with it, to be honest. It's got a wonderful, rich bourbon vanilla character to it. It's got a slightly astringent sweetness to it, so it's got kind of like a pears and plums kind of an element. A little bit of caramel comes in. It's a little biscuity. What it is not is harsh, particularly spirit-driven, potentially not overtly complex. But what it does do is it's a blanket. It's so comforting, and I want to use the word unctuous. It's rich. There is a whiskey it reminds me of, actually. And for any of you that have stuck around for a while, you'll know what I'm about to say is a high compliment. Ooh, reminds me of this puppy. This is the Bladnoch 10. I recently polished this off. Now, whilst we're on the subject of not wanting to finish this off, here's an example as to why. When I get a whiskey that I really like, I will batter through it for a little while, and then I will stop myself and I will put the whiskey away, and I'll be like, right, you don't go back near that for a while now. You have to hang on to that, which is what happened with this up until recently. I was looking at it, it was on my fireplace. I mean, it's not an actual fireplace, it's a bricked up chimney, but hey ho, God forbid what's actually in there. But I looked at it and I was like, do you know what, if I keep hold of that any longer, it's not going to matter the fact that I've held on to it in the first place. It's going to be over-oxidized, it's going to lose any kind of semblance of what made this a good whiskey to begin with, and your last sip of it will not be good. So I polished it off a couple of weeks ago, and so there will be a funeral service for this bottle. You can find details of it down below. It's the link that says Patreon. But no, in all seriousness, it reminds me a lot of like those beautiful floral vanilla flavours that I got off of that whiskey. I'm getting a lot of it on this. It's older. It's a blend. They're very different. But it does actually state that it does use a little bit of lowland in here. I think actually Highland, Speyside and lowland. So Isla and Islands are the ones that are missing basically. But curious to know what actually goes into it. Now, I didn't bother to look up the full estate that they've got, because usually that would give things away. Well, it's entirely possible they do buy in as well, because, you know, that is a thing that you can do. Like, Auchentoshan casks are available, certainly, you know, maybe not plentiful, but certainly available. Lindor's casks, extremely available at the minute. They, after their MCDXCIV, I have a bottle right there, so that's why I was looking there. I did not remember that off the top of my... It's not the best name, is it, in terms of memorability? So, oh yeah, I had the Lindors. What was it called? I don't remember. It's not the best. But lovely whiskey. But their casks are coming into their own now. Also, some of their sherry matured casks, the colour they're getting on them. Good God. Like, good God. Very active sherry casks, my word. I think Ribena is lighter than some of the stuff that they've been wheeling out recently, so excited to try some of that. And indeed, we might be in the not too distant future. Yeah, spoilers. As I get used to it, there's a little bit of sultana. It does have an element of like a grape sweetness to it. It's a little dark chocolate on the finish, like a very high cocoa chocolate. It's got that kind of like dry, bitter, almost vegetal element to it that dark, throw you around the house kind of dark chocolate has sometimes. I've got some 100% chocolate through in the kitchen, and I've been very slowly getting my way through that because it is intense. Lovely with the coffee though. Oh man, this video has been all over the fucking shop. I'm enjoying myself. Can you tell? I'm relaxed. I'm having a nice time. A couple of weeks ago, I obviously filled you guys in on, you know, there's been some things happening behind the scenes, and I've been dealing with them for a while, and they're still happening. But got a lot of responses from a lot of people. Were very supportive, both online and privately as well, and it's definitely helped. So thank you. I won't keep going on about that all the time, but you know, periodically I might give you some updates. But yeah, that's possibly part of the reason why I wanted to do this as well. I don't know. It's just it's a feel-good whiskey. You know, it's cheery. I like it. I like the fact that you can get it in littler bottles as well, because, you know, it's a little treat. It's like, it's a bit costly, but I'll take it. I'll take it round. We can share that on the patio or gazebo or, I don't know, windowsill. There's more than a fair few Edinburgh tenements actually where, like, they've got a shop beneath them and there's like a flat roof, and you get students just like, I don't think they're supposed to do it, but they do anyway. They just basically turn it into like a little sun lounger area. I mean, most of them are just doing drugs on them, to be fair, so, you know, that's always fun. Now, it's 40%, so I'm going to add a tickle of water. It doesn't need it. I'm just going to say right here and now, it does not need it. Also as a blend, because the age statement it is as well, I wouldn't bother mixing it. In fact, you could. But you know what? It would probably make a lovely cocktail. I am not of the opinion that you necessarily waste a malt by putting it in a cocktail. For the same reason that, I mean, the cookery shows all the time go on about using the best ingredients you can, so obviously it would make sense if you want to make the best drink you can to use a good alcohol. And at the end of the day, it's your drink, you know, so if you want to make a fucking banging old-fashioned, and you've got a whiskey that you like, and you want to see how it plays, go for it. There's probably people in the comments now screaming at me, it's like, no, you can't do that, you mustn't do that. Do as you want. I mean, I've served Anec 24 and Coke before now. I did ask if they were sure, and they were like, do you know what, yeah, I really like it. I was like, okay, That's all I needed to hear. That's fine by me. There are some whiskey bars out there that would have point blank refused. And to the people that would do that, have a word with yourselves. The water doesn't help it, to be honest. I don't know if I've even actually added water to this, because every now and then I'll come across a whiskey where I'm just like, doesn't need it. I'm happy with it as is, and that's fine. It's not that kind of, macho crap that you get with whiskey drinkers sometimes, where they're like, oh, if I put water in my whiskey, it means my dick dropped off, or whatever the fuck it is people go through their heads sometimes. There is a weird prejudice behind putting water in the whiskey. I'm sure we've talked about this before now, and I'm sure more educated and more nuanced people have talked about it better than I will. So I'm not going to. But, I mean, drink it as you want. Stick ice in it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Well, I polished it off in record time, as promised. I still quite like it. There's elements of Caramac coming in that. I don't know if Caramac has become part of my vocabulary because we recently did the Caragold, and that came up as a tasting note, and maybe it's still resonating with me. I don't know, but I am getting kind of a blonde chocolate. There you go. Other ones are available. There's Caramilk. That's a nice one. Oh, God. My boyfriend recently, he brought back... So my favourite chocolate bar of all time is Marble. It's right, for those of you who don't know, it was like a praline with dairy milk and white chocolate marbled across it, and I loved it. They brought it back not so long ago, and they've done a variant where instead of white chocolate, they used the caramilk. I nearly died. I nearly died a happy man. And then we made soufflés. That was a good couple of days. Anyway, enough of that. Have you tried any Dewars blends? Have you tried any of the cask ones that we talked about earlier, the Caribbean or the Mezcal? Mezcal's worth your attention, actually. I mean, they all are, to be fair, if they tick a particular box for you. But the Mezcal's certainly an interesting one. They were one of the first ones to adopt that, I think because they were just able to get in early with it more than anything else. And it's a finish, it's not a full maturation. But even so, it stands up, it's definitely there. And it was actually... majority of people who were at the tasting, that was their favourite. I was different. I was like, oh, I really like the port one. And everyone else was like, yeah, it's nice, but the mezcal's really good. I'm done being a rep for Dewars now. Should I do Aberfeldy? No. I could do, I suppose. Anyway, enough of that. Have you tried any of their stuff down below? Do I need to go to bed? Comment down below, thumb the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you like, and if you also want your name I seem to change my mind on whether I'm doing this. I'm currently putting them at the front of the video because I thought that's a nice thing to do. That's a little change of pace, but if you want your name up in lights, Patreon and joining links down below, and it helps support the channel. And these light bulbs are expensive. I'm just going to put it out there. They're not cheap. They last a while, but they're not cheap. Now, I've been doing this for a minute, Also, I don't know how you clean one of these umbrella things. I used to have two of these, and the other one died a horrible, horrible death. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I should go have a lie down. And do join me next time, where I'll be drinking something else. Oh.